And from the West Country, it's Ben Allen. Hello, mate.
I thought you sounded like from Birmingham then. You're right, mate.
Yeah, I'm good, buddy. Thank you for joining us. I know it was a short notice, and I do appreciate it. Thank you for coming on, mate. Coming up in tonight's show, we're going to be chewing the cud over yesterday's great win at Turf Moor, coming home with 3 points in the bag. Okay, much needed 3 points after recent performances. We're taking questions from you guys throughout the evening, so make sure you join us in the chat. Okay, anything on there, Lucy's watching. She'll put it up on the screen, and we'll talk about it during the course of the show. A couple of things I want to talk to you about before we get started. We are the only podcast, the only Palace podcast you can watch. Isn't that right, Ian?
It certainly is, yes. Without a doubt. Let's make the most of it, eh?
No, higher than that. The only Palace podcast you can watch. We are the only Palace podcast you can watch. And there is a reason for us having a bit of a private joke. If you have never done it before, ladies and gentlemen, please learn how to do a watch party. Hit the watch party facility on your Facebook page right now and invite as many people onto the show as they like. You know, let's get some new people on there. James Elsie, I can see you. Max, I can see you. Good evening, guys. John Knox, hello, mate. Thank you for joining us. Whoever you are, Luke, I can see you. Who else is coming up on screen? Thomas is there. Thomas at Corrali was that. Can you see these names going on? Ben. Jordan is there. Hi, mate.
Richard Greenwood.
Keep going.
Yeah. No, Thomas Corrali, Jordan O'Dear, Luke Cooper, Noxie. Yeah. Lots of people at the minute.
And you're telling me about my internet is poor. And you're Teresa Baker, very good friend of the show. Right, so where should we start? Should we start with the lineup, guys?
Yeah, why not?
Because there were a couple of things happening pre-game. So the lineup, obviously, Guaita, Kelly, Dann, Tompkins, Van Aanholt, Milivojevic, Guaita, MacArthur, Townsend, Zaha and Ayew. Now, Ben, we'll start with you because I know your preferred option pre-match, because we talked about it quite a lot on Friday, was Ayew instead, Benteke instead of Ayew. Do you still stand by that thought process?
Well, no, because they won. So that kind of blew my thing this last season. If you remember, we played Burnley. They dropped Guaita as well. We went for height because of their tactics.
Yeah,
I thought both offensively and defensively we could have probably used Benteke, especially for defending corners and his prowess, in winning the ball up front. But he looked sharp. But he came on against Liverpool, looked really quite handy.
And I also made the point, Ben, like that how I thought he looked slimline. He looked trim as well. Did you not think?
I think he did, but I think he was a threat against Liverpool. But we know with Hodgson is you play your way out of his team, not into it. And it's only injuries that we know that forced his hand, which was obviously Cahill, who was injured. I did tell Sam Friday that we'd heard something that he may be injured, and so there was a change at the back. And obviously with Joe Ward, which was, something we're going to have to address, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later on.
We will do indeed. Just catching up on the ones I missed. Andy Hopper in Australia. Hello, mate. Lee Lockwood. Paul Carew. How you doing, guys? Kevin Lyons. Nigel Croucher. Look forward to meeting you on Tuesday evening, Nigel. Don't forget row 13, mate. Come and see us. Come and say hello. Oh, and on the subject of Tuesday night, before we count, Ian, I'm going to get you to go straight into the first half after I've done this bit, if you'd be so kind. We're going to finish up on the lineup very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody struggling for tickets for either Tuesday night or the Brighton game, get in touch with me. I've got somebody who I know who's got a couple of tickets. We don't authorise selling tickets on the page, but get in touch with me privately, and I'll put you in touch with the right person. So anyway, across the back. So Ian Cahill missing. I don't know about you, but before the game kicks off, I was a little bit concerned because obviously he'd been our stalwart all season, and I was a little bit concerned about the lack of, not experience, but the lack of playing time with Kelly and Dan and even Tompkins to a point across the back. Were you not worried?
I was certainly worried that Cahill was missing. I mean, he's been, as we mentioned a few times, purring like a Rolls Royce for most of the season. And he's been commanding the back line and the defensive midfield in front of him as a result. And things have been working really well. Tompkins, I never had too much of an issue with Tompkins. Tompkins is class. If he can stay fit, class. Kelly, again, solid. And then obviously Scott Dann in there was my real concern. He's got this overconfidence, a bit like a Mama, with playing these 30-yard balls along the ground, trying to pick pinpoint passes off. So that's where I was concerned.
The other one, obviously, that's been concerning most of us recently is the lack of form from Luka Milivojevic, our captain. But I actually thought he had a good game yesterday, Ben, did he not?
I think they all had a very good game. Just answering Ian with the point of Dan, it was his 30-yard pinpoint pass that played Zaha in, wasn't it? So
yeah. The irony of that, I know, fantastic.
So the formation being a 4-5-1, which is obviously his preferred lineup these days. When is there going to be an opportunity to go with two up top, guys? Can you ever see that? Can you see that happening between now and the end of the season?
Go on, Ben.
No, maybe in the FA Cup, depending who we draw. But Hodgson's pragmatic and it's formula and it's repeat, practice, repeat, practice, repeat. So with the thing about this is, I know people think we're quite not, the most exciting to watch. We are the sum of our parts. We play to our strengths. And our strength is being drilled and drilled and drilled. And although we're a 4-5-1, it's a very floating 4-5-1 because Zaha comes in, doesn't need to make part of a 4-4-2 when he can. So, no, I if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is my mantra, and certainly Hodgson's.
John Lyons, Matthew Luca, Graham O'Neill, Ian Appley, Thomas Crowley again, Stephen Isles, Matthew Stevens. I can see you all out there. Kevin, Tony Sticks Toefield is watching with us. Hello, Tony. Welcome, John. Paul Holden, Jason Green, Tyler Kayser. Guys, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Great. Let's celebrate a win. You're not going to get negatives. Don't forget, we are the only Palace podcast you can watch, unless you're, of course, picking this up on Monday morning. Then you can stick it in your ears as well for your commute. Kevin Lyons says the 4-5-1 morphs into 4-3-3. Do you agree with that, Ian?
It does. Yeah, no, I would agree. It's not often I agree with him. Yeah, it does. And probably picking up on the question that you asked Ben earlier about will we ever see two up front, I think at times we do actually see three, as Kev said. I think the difference for us is that it's who we have leading the line up front and as that pivotal focus point. And I think, as we've all been saying for so many months, is it, I know we'll come on to it later, potentially, but new striker. If we get someone like Batshuayi or Giroud up front, then I think we become far more potent playing the same system.
And I think the other interesting point you made, you mentioned about the leaders on the pitch. If you look at what we had on the pitch yesterday, Kelly, Dan, Tompkins, Milivojevic, Guaita, Sacco, MacArthur, they're all leaders in their own right. Okay, they don't. I think in our particular squad, the role of the captain is secondary, really, because you've got so many leaders in the team. Do you not think, Ben?
Yeah, I think the days of the captain being this are kind of gone to a certain extent. I think it's a hark back to the olden days of football. But we've got so many characters, seasoned professionals. People will say we've got an ageing squad, but with age comes experience. So people like McCarthy can drive Luca. Luca can drive Tompkins, and I think they all kind of push each other on, which is again credit to Hodgson.
Yeah, well, on that point about the experience, Nicky Allen has just said, "Hi guys, I've got to say, Martin Kelly is so underrated. Thought he was fantastic for a makeshift right back. So underrated." And I echo that. I thought he had a good game. Ben,
completely agree.
Oh, I think Kelly's come into his own again. It sounds like I'm in the Hodgson fan club. Under Hodgson, I think he was misused by Pardew to the point where his confidence was shot. Same with some other players, but he's kind of reinvigorated under Hodgson. I think either as centre back or full back.
He's a quality player, and we're lucky to have him in the squad. He's a great squad player because don't forget, he's also more of a utility player because he can play more or less anywhere across the back four anyway. The other thing of note from the lineup yesterday, I thought it might be worth just touching on before we get into the first half, guys. Ben, I'll let you take this. Townsend had a cracking performance last week, not so much so yesterday. Is that because he's carrying that knock? I understand he's got a groin injury or something.
He's been, according to some, that he's been playing with pain for a few weeks.
That's a bit harsh on PVA.
I think it showed towards, he was starting to kind of lag in the second half. The thing that got me, I know we'll talk about it, was Dann was obviously injured early and played through it, kind of looked like he recovered and then went back. It was just why it took to like the 75th minute before Sacco came on. Is that how unfit Sacco is? Or that was the dynamic got me, that how long Dann was obviously injured for and they still don't want to use Sacco.
There's a question in the chat, by the way, and John Lyons, the answer to your question is simply yes, mate. I will be up there relatively early, so get in touch and we'll do just that. Sounds like a great idea. John Knox, I know I said we'll have a pint as well, so we'll find somewhere to meet up. Anybody wants to meet up, let's have a beer. Let's get, we are a family. Leslie Fuller, hello, mate. Right, go on, Ian. Give us 5 minutes on the opening up. Now, I thought, if I'm honest with you, I thought the opening, the first 25 minutes was a bit, I don't know, lackluster. But the reality is, in my mind, it's actually Hodgson's tactics. He got it absolutely spot on. Would you not agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the game started as we expected to. We've said it a number of times. We're very predictable, shaping up with a 4-5-1. And as you said, the opening 5-10 minutes were with both teams shaping up. There were the odd chance here or there, but nothing really close range, maybe just from distance. And they didn't know what to expect from us. Sean Dyche said after the game that we were trying to slow the game down. We were trying to draw them out. And I know that the three of us were commenting on as much during the game yesterday.
Yeah.
But picking up on the first half, I think the first real chance came in, probably 13 minutes, where Burnley's pressing game was restricting us. And it actually meant that the ball was pinging around in our third, and their winger, I forget his name now, their young kid, had a chance from distance, which Guaita easily dealt with. And during that, as a result of their pressing, both Ayew and Wilf were having to drop deep, and that was actually stopping us from getting out. Brady then puts in a tackle on Scott Dann, which then, as Ben alluded to, which left Dann limping and needing treatment. And then on 21 minutes, Dann falls to the ground, still feeling the effects of the tackle earlier, needs attention. And we're all thinking, oh no, is it his knee again? Do we have to think about bringing Mama on at that time? The game meandered on after that as he carried on. And we enjoyed some sustained possession for the first time in the game. But again, because of their pressing, we were unable to penetrate, and get any chances off. It wasn't until the 34th minute that we started to find these little through balls. As Ben rightly said, from the back line, and Luca was actually having a really good game. He's carried on his form from Liverpool into this game. And he actually started to find some little passes in between the lines, in between Cork and the others. And we started to turn them around, and they started to drop back, which took the pressure off us a little bit. And at that point, after that bit of pressure, the first VAR check of the day came in as the ball made contact with Charlie Taylor. A cross came in from the right. Charlie Taylor, with his arm down to his side, it hit his arm. I think it was the right decision. I know that some people may see differently.
Hold that thought. Right, ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, was that a penalty where the ball struck Charlie Taylor? These two clowns both thought it wasn't. Okay, we were having a row about it during the game. To me, Ben's words to me were his arm was not in an unnatural position. Well, I'm sorry, but that's an unnatural position. That's a natural position. That's an unnatural position, and that's where the ball hit him. Penalty in your minds, ladies and gentlemen in the chat? Yes or no? Penalty, yes. Penalty, no. Go on, Ian, carry on, mate.
Just to counter that, Ian, is your hands like that or here, that is an unnatural position if you're trying to shoot them down. The ball doesn't hit your hand. That is someone trying to defend with his body, not his hand. So the ball hit his hand.
Had it not hit his hand, it would have hit his body.
Yeah.
So for me, it was no way a penalty. I mean, the way I look at these, and it was nice to see VAR making a sensible decision for once with all the rubbish that's been going on lately, but certainly with those subjective decisions. The way I look at it is if it had been given against us, we would have all been up in arms about it.
Oh, yeah.
So That was around 34 minutes. Then on 38 minutes, we were still putting the pressure on. We have a great little bit of interplay. Ball comes over from the left. Chet Guaita misses an absolute sitter, completely scuffs it, and then PVA on the overlap was already offside, knocks it back, and IU just stuffs it in. Unfortunately, and rightly disallowed, but that's the way it goes. So our pressure was starting to tell at that point. And then again, a bit of to and fro until just after 45 minutes. And it was the second in as many games for Wilf, as he received the ball again from a lovely 30-yard pass from Dan out to the wing. He was running at the defender, shifted the ball onto his left foot before hitting a wicked shot past Nick Pope. I think it's general consensus that Nick Pope may have done better, but I'd be interested to see what the goalkeepers in the chat think. But the ball does actually dip just before he gets to him. So I'm minded that it was just one of those things. And again, a great finish. And at that point, 2 shots, 2 goals, one of them chalked off. But, we go in 1-0 up.
Well, I don't understand Ben, I'm coming to you now because I want to ask you something on the keeper. The overall stats at the end of the game said we only had 2 shots on target. Well, how can that be when we had a goal chalked off anyway? Mickey Philpott in the chat, Ben, says we must have the most hard-working goalkeeper in the league with the amount of back passes he gets. If they spent as much time passing forward as they do passing back, we'd score many more goals. Now, again, if you remember something yesterday afternoon, guys, when we were talking during the game, I said, our first trigger movement, and it was everybody to a man in the first 15, 20 minutes. Our first trigger movement was back instead of forward. Maybe that's a tactical decision by the manager. Anyway, go back to the goal, Ben. Nick Pope's got to stop that, hasn't he?
I think there's a few points with that. I think the fullback just kept trying to usher Wilf onto his left foot. They know he's right-footed playing out wide, so they kept ushering him out. Firstly, Burnley fans, this time last year, what did they booed Zaha incessantly. What did he do? Shut him up. They need to get into a forum with Watford and West Ham and see how it works for them all when they say, let boo Wilf. Because his history stones, you start that, he's just going to do it to you. And he said, this is what, if you saw the celebration, he went, this is what I do. And I thought that was beautiful. But I think...
Great shout.
He got ushered out into his left. I think Pope was probably hedging his bets that he was going to try and drill it across for AU. So was caught out. And great finish. He did just dip under his leg. But it's a great finish, and that's what Wilf does, isn't it?
Can I just catch up on my question in the chat about the penalty? Neil Chatterjee saying no. John Knox saying yes. Teresa says no. Lucy says no, but we all know she always turns up to do the show drunk. We know that, okay? Jordan says penalty. Thomas said yes. Kevin Lyons says, me calling you clowns is a bit harsh, but we can beg to differ if you like, mate. I don't mind. You want to respond? Go on. Your little brother's sticking up for you, mate.
Backing me up. Cheers, buddy.
So, also, I'll put it out there for everyone. This will give you people something to comment on. Do you think Wilf's performances in the last 2 games is any coincidence that we're getting into December towards January?
It's Thackeray's taco effect. Yeah, no, it's no coincidence at all, is it?
I think that might be in the back of his mind, to be honest. But not that I say anything he'd go in January, because I don't.
You don't think he's going to go? Right, okay.
Not in January.
And do you think he's going to go in? Okay, I'm going to ask a random question. We're supposed to be reviewing the game here, but he's mentioned Zaha, so I'm going to pick up on the Zaha point. Question. Now, later in the show, we're going to be talking about our up-and-coming fixtures right the way through to New Year's Day. And as you've all seen, there's some very winnable fixtures in there. So let's work on the premise that we win 50% of those games. Wilfried Zaha and Palace have now ended the season in the top 6 because of this great run of fixtures that we come. Hold on, hear me out. You know what I'm going to ask you. So we've now finished the season, come May, in the top 6, which we know we won't. Okay, hypothetical. But we've just finished in the top 6. And we have now, for the first time in our history, gone into for a European tour. Does Wilfried Zaha still go?
Yes.
Ben, is that it?
Yeah. I think it's. I think we would have to get into the Champions League or win the league for Wilf to stay.
Ian?
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. I think there's a lot of water to go under the bridge still, but yes, and I think what finishing in the top six does is it narrows his options, because if he wants to go into a better club at that point, there are only a certain number of clubs that he can do that with. Certainly in the Premier League, there'd only be 5 better clubs. That's not to say he wouldn't go. I just think might make him think a little bit, and we don't know where we would be with investors by that time.
But realistically, there's only top 5 clubs that can afford him. Whether it's
I know,
we're in
and
Europe,
I don't
outside, inside Europe, it's only 5 that can afford him.
exactly.
And only one
I only think 3. Yeah, exactly. I only think 3 of those are in the Premier League. Yeah, I mean, it may well be in the club's best interest to say, look, leave us on a high, go, let's cash in on him, and buy some or strengthen the squad on the basis of the money that we receive. So I can see both ways. Listen, if he's doing his job and gets himself a move, then I don't think there'll be anyone in the club that will decry him that move.
No, I don't. I think there is now something firmly in place that if Wilf gets an offer from the club that we deem, is acceptable, he'll go. I think there is that in place.
What, in January or in summer?
I think a lot of it depends on the court of arbitration and what happens with Chelsea. But I think he will go in the summer, and I think it will be to Chelsea, probably players plus cash.
Yeah, I think it'll be players plus cash. We've said that for months. I think that's where it's been going all along, is players plus cash. It might be different players at this point, but yeah.
I think for him, it ticks so many boxes. Where Chelsea train in Cobham, where they play, his family, players he knows, and for us, it makes it like we've got a very good relationship with Chelsea.
Yeah.
This season's been a showcase for what their academy can produce. We know what their academy produce because we've had their players before. So I think I honestly think there's something to be done there with Chelsea, but I think in the summer.
Ian, before I ask you to do the second half, if you'd be so kind, Paul Grubber in the chat says he needs to go abroad. Well, ideally,
who Paul does.
No, Paul doesn't need to go abroad. No, he's talking about Wilf needs to go abroad. I suppose ideally, in the perfect world for a Palace fan, you just don't want to see him lining up against us at any point. So I understand what he's saying about that.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's going to happen, isn't it? So.
Paul glances agreeing with you guys. He's off to Chelsea. Tyler Kay say how come he didn't turn up against Chelsea? Yeah, Thomas. I won't tell you what Tom said about Chelsea in the chat, but
I can read it.
Right, go on. Let's have a few minutes on the second half, mate.
Right, okay. Second half was probably a little more eventful as far as chances go. Similar to the Liverpool game, the opposition came out straight at us, and maybe that's something they've been looking at because Peters had a couple of efforts, and the second one was really close on the volley. At the time, it looked like it was going to go, into Rose head, but it ended up being that far away from the post. So there's a let off there. 49 minutes, Dan got injured again. This time his ankle whilst challenging with Chris Wood. So ankle and knee, and you're thinking again, God, just take him off, and then he carried on. Fair play to him, and I understand that because he's not getting much of a chance. He wants to prove his worth, and they were barracking him, saying he's a Blackburn reject as well. So I think he wanted to prove them wrong. Again, to and fro in 61 minutes. Then there's a bit of a melee in our box. Guaita manages to push the ball, then it gets ricocheted on, and MacArthur, who I think had a really good game up until then, breaking up play and work rate, but not necessarily with passing, was in the right place at the right time, hooked it off the line. And this is what I love now, and this is where I want VAR to be. The goal line technology, they didn't even bother haranguing the ref or harassing the ref, because he just went, nah, it's okay, my watch is fine, there's nothing on it, and they just accept it. And how long is it going to be before we get to that regard with VAR? Just after that, then Dan's return to the Palace side is over. He finally succumbed to his injury, and at that very point, he actually went to jump up for the ball, landed, crumpled over in a heap. Chris Wood is in on goal, so probably about 8-10 yards out, and then skies it, thankfully, with the goal at his mercy. And clearly, at that point, we made the decision, right, he's got to come off. Mamadou Sakho comes on, and then it's time just to watch the rest of the game through your fingers, thinking, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? Not long after that, on 69 minutes, Schlupp comes on for Andros. Again, we've just spoken about Andros. Didn't have his best game. He was reasonably ineffectual going forward. Defensively, he put a shift in. And for someone that's allegedly carrying a groin injury, he's done really, really well as a result. But Schlupp comes on. Roy is ever faithful. And then his first impact on the game was to immediately win a corner. And on that note, I think that we were talking about Roy and his tactics being spot on this time. It was so nice to see us being inventive with corners. And I don't think those people...
Short corners.
But they didn't show any of them on Match of the Day. And so people wouldn't necessarily have seen this. But we were doing short corners. We were doing different corners, third man run corners. And the whole point of it is to pull Burnley out into uncomfortable positions, because again, like us, they're so well drilled. And this is what Deitch was saying afterwards, is that we were never comfortable because they didn't play the way that they expected us to play. So the corners that were going in, again, as we've been asking for weeks now, and just as they were at Liverpool, Luca, who had a really good game, his delivery was fantastic on those corners, and it gave us something to attack, which is what we needed. On 79 minutes, Ben Mee then fluffs his lines. He gets a ball, completely miskicks it, and it goes about 20 feet up in the air behind him. And then Schlupp, probably one of our only midfielder that knows where the opposition penalty area is, takes it beautifully down, one touch, turns, and hits an absolute rocket of a shot straight past Pope. I don't know whether it could have been between his legs. Gave him absolutely no chance. And it was a substitution that worked. And Schlupp, again, he's one of it's a bit like Kelly for me. He doesn't do the spectacular stuff, but is always or quite often in the right place at the right time. And it's not often that he does something badly. 2-0 at that point. And up until then, we really hadn't been under pressure. There'd been the odd flash of a chance for them, but really nothing of note. And certainly Guaita had only made a couple of saves from long range at that point. Then we get to 86. Go on. Sorry, Ben.
Just with Schlupp, is what impressed me is there was a lot of fingers being pointed at Pope again, but he took the ball beautifully, but he hits it with such little backlift that I don't think you actually know a shot was coming. How he generates the power with such little backlift is pound for pound. I think he probably got the hardest shot in the team. He absolutely
got a kick of a donkey.
He makes such good contact with it, such clean contact, such power. But the ball was in the net by the time Pope hit the floor. Absolutely levered it. There's two camps of Schlupp, isn't there? He very much divides opinion, but he's a solid, brilliant substitution, right time, turned the game, won it, and killed the game. That was it. And
and what about the chance? Rhythm is a dancer. Jeff Schlupp is the answer. That's going to be going around the terraces on Tuesday night. That's for sure. Yeah. Fair play to the guy. He gets his chance. He scores his goal. And as you alluded to earlier, Nick, that's 3 shots on goal, 3 goals. Although one of them chalked off, but nevertheless. And unfortunately, that's where we are striker-wise. And it's not for the first time we've we've scored 100%, goal to shot ratio away from home. But then 86 minutes, Vincent Guaita pulls off a great save to deny Burnley.
That's a worldie, isn't it? I'm sorry, but that is a world-class save.
I mean, to have stood there and done pretty much bugger all for most of the game, certainly, and as he's from sunnier climes as well, it can't have been easy for him. So he denied Chris Wood diverting the ball towards goal. Although he didn't know much about it, Chris Wood, and he pulled off a worldie, as you can see there. But that wasn't the end of it. There was still a little bit of danger left. And on 90 minutes, he was called back into action to keep the loose ball out as Jay Rodriguez at this time failed to make contact with the ball inside the area. But what was impressive about that save is Rodriguez dived full length right in front of him. And he could quite easily have gone with the dive and not followed the track of the ball. He followed the track of the ball, and his handling throughout the game was excellent, was fantastic.
I think what's impressed me over the course of this season compared to last is Guaita's kicking has improved immeasurably. Not just
do you mean as in distance distribution wise?
Distribution wise, Hennessy always had that over him that Hennessy could probably put it over the crossbar from the opposition goal, but his accuracy wasn't that. Where Guaita's got the distance now, but Andy's accuracy, his distribution is this kind of centre back goalkeeper that seems to be the trend that's coming into the Premier League at Man City and Liverpool. Guaita can put it on a sixpence. It really has impressed me this season.
Okay.
No, I can't disagree with that at all. I think he's been every much as good a signing as Cahill was.
Where do listeners, watchers rate him? A, Premier League. B, with Palace goalkeepers. And
Speroni and Martin. Very interesting. Okay, on that subject then, Ben, because I want Ian to wrap up. On that subject, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, what I'd like to know, because we're going to be talking about how different players performed in a minute. Okay, I would like to know, because it was a difficult one, your man of the match, please. Your man of the match out there in Facebook land. I think it's a real tough one to call this week. I thought that it was a good overall team performance, and it's a very tough one to call. Who did they give it to on Match of the Day? You go to the Wolf. Okay, well, Crystal Palace manager Roy Hodgson, speaking on Match of the Day, said, I think the way we got the balance right between having to defend and attacking was good. The way Burnley throw balls into the area is hard to defend time and time again. It's a very good victory. We are very satisfied with the result and the performance. We are grateful for the 3 points, but now we need to use this feeling going forward. On Wilfred Zaha, Zaha has been extremely good in recent games. He's not allowed players to aggravate him. Yeah, good point. I hadn't picked up on that, and this is really important.
We are also all out spat on the sideline then.
Yeah. Who was that with?
Was it Brady or was it?
It was the ex-Man U guy, the one that knocked Rooney out. I can't think of his name now, off the top of my head.
And also
the one that knocked Rooney out in his kitchen.
All right, okay. And we are also getting a lot out of him defensively. He works very hard, and it's an important factor in us winning the game. Now, also in the chat, a few minutes ago while you were talking, Ian, somebody asked the question, can we please touch on this evening the potential takeover? Ben, at the end of the show, I'd like you to just touch on what we believe to be the case and what we've heard last week, if that's okay with you. I know I've sprung it on you and there's no preparation time, but I thought we'd do that. Right, okay, so talking about different performances then, Ian. Ben, you haven't got these notes in front of you, I'm aware of that because you jumped on late for us. But Ian's notes on people like Schlupp. The boy certainly knows. Go on,
for me, there were no real standout performers. I thought it was a performance that was the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
That everyone did their job and did it well. We won the second ball, which is the killer. If you're going to have that midfield battle, every second ball we seem to come out on top of. Defensively, we were on it. He provided the outlet. Guaita was, as per usual, I think he's probably in the best 3 or 4 keepers in the league. And our season, as I said in our chat, won't be defined about our last 5 games. It will be defined about how we play and get results against the teams in and around us.
And it's
Yeah.
Phil
That is
Bardsley, I say now. That's
and
right.
that is like going to Burnley and getting a result. That will be more of a measure this season, is going away and beating teams like Burnley.
Well, I think you're right. And again, we're going to come on to the next 6 or 7 in a minute. Phil Bardsley, was it, Ian?
It was Bardsley. Yeah, I was just saying, Rob Donovan. Cheers, Rob. He dug us out there. Phil Bardsley.
Colin Roy, I can see all that. Thanks, guys. It's and Ian's come up with some notes for different players, and I'm going to give everybody out there just a flavour of it. On Martin Kelly, solid, wonderful team player, Mr. Dependable. Townsend clearly struggling with his groin injury, pretty anonymous for most of the time he was on, but solid nevertheless. Benteke did little when he came on. Mama did okay. Thought I was watching between my fingers, as he said earlier. Scott Dann looked comfortable until the injury, and then stayed on too long, resulting in the goal, nearly resulting in the goal. And I think that's fair enough. Stats-wise, possession surprised me, really, because bear in mind we were the away team, guys. 56% possession for Palace, 44% possession for the home team. Very strange. Shots, 15 for them, 7 for us. On target, they're claiming 4 for us and 4 for them and 2 for us. Well, how can that possibly be when we had a goal chalked off?
It wasn't in play, was it?
Go on, Ben.
I think possession stats in yesterday kind of irrelevant, because Burnley aren't a possession-based team. You know, they're very, not, I wouldn't say one-dimensional, but they set their stall out and they play high balls up to Barnes and play off and around him, and that's what they did against us yesterday. But I tell you, who surprised me for his aerial ability is Van Arnold. More than one occasion, he was there to clear us with headers. You know, he's not 6'5" like the rest of them. I thought he played brilliantly yesterday.
Crystal
And
Palace.
they were clearly targeting him as well.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace have won 6 of their past 7 Premier League games played outside London. That's a stat I didn't know. Palace ended a run of 5 Premier League games without a win and kept a clean sheet for the first time in 7 in the competition. Burnley mustered 15 shots in total against Crystal Palace, the most they have managed in a Premier League home game without scoring since 2017. Listen, I think
measuring shots, half of them went over the bloody stand, let alone the crossbar.
But they are
notice
small
I didn't
stands.
say.
It's not a real accurate measure, is it?
Notice I didn't say shots on target. Shots. Right. Okay. I think we're gonna come to viewers' questions in a minute, because we've got quite a few in there. Ben and Ian, between you, could you cover off what we've seen in the press over the last? And please don't mention any that paper, that rag, okay? But what we know, what we've heard, what we've seen, what the speculation is about potential takeover. Ian, do you want to go first?
Who do you want to start? Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's been in a press. We've been aware, just us, of approach quite a number of approaches to the club for quite a while now. So it's clear that we're attracting attention. I have a feeling that those potential suitors changed over the period of time, and the ones that have been mentioned, this consortium with an individuals involved, have been the ones that have been favoured by Mr. Patel for at least 6 or 7 weeks now. We don't know much, probably no more than most other people, but there is certainly no smoke without fire, and it's open knowledge that we're up for sale.
Ian, can I just stop you, mate?
Whether or not,
Ian, can I just stop you a minute? Because you're lagging. I want Lisa to just drop you down a
Yeah.
second. Ben, do we know anything more up to date? Is there any more information that you're aware of? Is there any truth behind this? What do you think?
Well, first of all, is what no one knows, because as everyone will be aware, there will be non-disclosure agreements that will sew it up so tightly. So what you can do is you can listen to people that are a lot closer to deals than us, and there have been, as far as we know, there are interested parties, and there have been, as Ian said, that the name that keeps coming up is this Israeli chap. Is it Edra? Idra.
Hidden
Eden
offer. Hidden
offer.
offer.
Thanks, Lee. I can see it, mate.
That's the name that keeps coming up. What I don't think, I'll be fairly confident in saying, so there isn't going to be one single buyer. I don't think we're going to have a billionaire come in like an oligarch, like Abramovich, because those things tend to happen a lot quicker. Because if there's one person involved, it's a fairly straightforward process.
Yeah.
I think January, as you know, Dom Fifield said, Malian said, these are guys that know what they're talking about when it comes to Palace. They know their onions. They're saying that they think there is something happening, but it's nowhere near as close as a certain other newspaper is reporting. So I think it's inevitable, but whether it's this side of Christmas or certainly this side of January, I doubt it.
Ian,
I think a lot of is going to be based on where we finish and how we perform at the end of the season. Because the better we perform, the less perceived investment is going to be required. So I'm concerned. Wilf being with us until the end of the season, I think is going to be dependent on any potential takeover as well. They're not going to want to sell the crown jewels before they actually get on board. So that may well be another reason as to why, and may back up Ben's assumption that Wilf is unlikely to go until the end of the season anyway. So there's a lot of water to sail over yet. And we'll just have to wait and see. But it's nice that actually people are interested in taking us on at the minute, or it's seemingly so. It's just whether or not they'll be the right people.
It's been said for it's been said for years, isn't it? Look, we have got probably the biggest captive audience in southern England. Okay, probably more so than the Chelseas, the Arsenal, the Tottenhams, because of the catchment area in the southeast is enormous. The chimney pots in the southeast are massive, so there is a great opportunity for somebody if they can get the infrastructure right, like the stands, okay, like the stadium, okay, then they will come. Sorry, Ben, you're about to say something.
I think with the likes of having billionaire owners, these things are going to take time, and I'm not necessarily in agreement that keeping Zaha is part of it. I think the reason we'll keep Zaha is to sell him in January would be virtually impossible with the inflated market to replace him. With summer, you've got 9, 10, 12 weeks to replace him. With 4 weeks, everyone knows you've got £80 million in your pocket. You're not going to. I don't know if those two are strictly related, but I think we will certainly next summer not be having the same owners. What I don't know, and I'm not sure, is whether we still have Parish either. And how do people feel about that? Do they want new owners, new broom, or do they want new owners with Parish?
Well, personally, I'd like a bit of continuity and keeping. And I know he's not keen on selling his 18%, so I'd like a bit of continuity in him staying at the club when we do get somebody in. Anyway, so that's their thoughts. Your thoughts in the chat, please let us know. We're going to move on to some questions, if you don't mind. Okay, Lucy, now please. We're going to go back to the lineup, gentlemen. Okay, and you don't know this is coming. There's a reason why that's been posted. Okay, now Andrew Adams said during the day, "What is our best formation for the Bournemouth game?" And the reason. Well, obviously, we mentioned the 4-5-1 and everything else, but we've also mentioned that now Dann is injured. There's a doubt over Mama, so we don't know how much. There's a doubt over Townsend. How do we line up against Bournemouth on Tuesday, boys?
You will have to wait for Hodgson's press conference. That's there are so many variables now with injuries that I don't think you can reasonably predict what he's going to do. He's going to have to change it, obviously. Sacco can't play 90 minutes, that's obvious. So we'll have to see who comes through. They'll be back in today. They'll all be going for their scans tomorrow. And there's a press conference tomorrow, I believe, isn't there?
Well, there will be, because we're playing on Tuesday.
There'll have to be, yeah.
So I don't think we'll change too much formation-wise. It's just personnel. But I still don't think you'll see Camarasa or Maya.
What about Cahill? Because do you think that's why he was spared? Because it was touch and go at the time, but he was because then there were thoughts that he would actually play yesterday, but clearly he didn't, and therefore maybe they just want to keep him back for Bournemouth.
Is it a knee? That's what we were under the impression.
I don't know.
Well,
So
that'll be interesting to see.
if
So,
Cahill's injured, he would start, I think, regardless if anyone else was injured around him or not. I think he'd be probably one of the first names on the sheet, wouldn't he?
thank you, boys. Red and
Yeah,
Blue
but
newspaper.
what I'm saying is, sorry, Nick. What I was saying is maybe they just didn't want to risk him on yesterday.
Do you think
Yeah,
Hodgson's
possibly.
that? Do you think he'd do that if Cahill's fit? You think he'll, or there was a doubt over him, they would hold him back for Bournemouth, or do you think he'd play him?
I'd like to say yes.
Okay, we're gonna touch again on Schlupp in a second, boys. Everybody out in Red and Blue Newsland, keep your eye on the page tomorrow during the day. There will be a press conference. Okay, ahead of the Tuesday fixture. I'm around all day tomorrow, so I will update the page on anything that comes out of the press conference. It's a very difficult lineup to predict. Normally, we will put a team prediction out the day before a game, as we normally do. But as Ben has quite rightly said, very difficult to do so. Very difficult. Don't forget, it's a 7:30 kickoff against Bournemouth, as it says on the screen. Is it time people laid off Schlupp, okay, and respect that he's not that bad? Now, I know, boys, you've actually already alluded to this a little bit. Does he get the credit? Ben, does he get the credit he deserves? He's a good squad player, as is Martin Kelly.
He's a perfectly good, solid Premier League player. He's won the Premier League. No one else in our team can say that. He came on yesterday.
Cahill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Cahill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apart from Cahill, what the Romans ever done for us? I think he's a solid player. I don't think you can play him with Van Aanholt. That's where it seems to weaken off, doesn't it? If you play him down the same, that's where neither of them are particularly defensive minded. But I quite like Schlupp. You know, I'm never, oh God, he's playing. But obviously, I prefer Townsend to play with Zaha.
Okay, there's a bit of an argument going on in the chat. Neil Chatterjee says it's a 7:45 kickoff. I still maintain. I thought it was a 7:30 kickoff. Andy Stacey says it's 7:45. I may be incorrect, guys. So
You are incorrect.
please check the times. Right, we've got some different names coming through on the chat as well. Question from Jamil Hussain. Hello, Jamil. Welcome to Red and Blue News. Do you think Roy is the right man to take us to the next level? And do you think Zaha will stay if we make a top 10 finish this year? That's completely aside from the question I asked you earlier on, boys. Ben, you're maintaining he's gone, yeah?
I think Hodgson, under this regime, with this financial or lack of, yes, there's no one else I'd have around him instead of him. And I think irrespective of where we finish, Zaha's going to go.
Thank you. And gentlemen, you're wrong. Okay, it's an Amazon Prime fixture. Okay, kickoff is 7:30. Guys, in Red and Blue News, I can't do it because we're broadcasting live to the nation. Could somebody just go onto the Palace website, please, and confirm the time and let me know in the chat that it's off the website that it's 7:30. I'm 90% certain that I am correct. It's 7:30. Could somebody out in Facebook land please check it? So we make sure we get to the game on time. As for the Roy question, Ian Mace came back and answered, do you think Zaha will be here in January? As for the Roy question, he'll need help in the transfer window. I think there is a thing we need to touch on with Roy Hodgson. There's a bit of an elephant in the room, really, boys. Ian, this is to you. Teresa Baker has just checked on the Palace website live. It is a 7:30 kickoff. Do you know what it's like to be so smug, ladies and gentlemen? It's going to annoy the hell out of those two I'm looking at. Okay, but the 7:30 kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Teresa. Lee, I can see it as well.
I didn't say anything.
Luke, thank you very much. Graham, thank you very much. Appreciate it, everybody. 7:30 kickoff. The elephant in the room, as far as I'm concerned, and I think it's speaking volumes, is the fact that he hasn't signed a new deal. I know they've spoken about a new deal. I don't know if he's been offered a new deal. He's out of contract. The manager is out of contract at the end of the season. Don't you think it's a little bit bizarre that he hasn't signed a new deal or even been offered a new deal, Ben?
I think Parish and Rose, both manager and chairman, have said that they're talking about it. I don't think there's a massive obstacle. I think that if he's going to stay, they'll obviously want him to sign before January. If you're going to go out, not that he has much to do with signing players anyway, but if you're going to go out and sign players and the manager's going to talk to him, you want the manager to also make a commitment to the club. Personally, with as I said, with this ownership, I wouldn't want anyone else to be in charge.
Okay. Would you agree or disagree with anything you just said, Ian?
No, I think it makes perfect sense. Listen, where we are at the minute, unless we're a spending club, you need someone that's going to be steady and pragmatic at the helm. And, that's Hodgson all over, isn't it? So certainly he needs to get another year's contract. Maybe he's asking for more than that. Who knows? But,
You only need to look at the basket case that is Watford.
wow, I
For
mean,
people, careful what you wish for.
8 managers in 2 years now, or 18 months?
There was something brilliant on Twitter early on. It was only 2 managers till Christmas.
Oh, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? And
Well,
that's what that.
They sacked the same bloke twice now in 2 years.
I know, the poor guy. But, I say poor guy, he's going to walk away with 3 million or whatever.
Of course he is. Of course he is. All day long. All day long. It's a shame Gel's not on tonight because there was a question levied from a guy called Gary Matthews. Does Gel remember wearing a Liverpool kit in PE at school?
And we've got to keep that one.
And having a Liverpool holdall also as a school bag.
Guys, Gary, have you got a photo?
Gary, is there any photographic evidence?
Ian, what are you drinking out of?
What's that you're drinking out of, Ian?
Oh, look, what, this little thing, this little exclusive, look at this.
Keep going up, keep going up.
Look at this baby.
The only
as it's going to be a podcast, Ian, as it can be a podcast as well, can you describe the aforementioned vessel in which you are holding?
Wow, this is like a special edition red and blue review mug. In fact, so special that only 2 of us have them.
I haven't got one yet.
We might have a spare for you. We might have a spare for each of you, and maybe one to give away at some stage.
For those of you who can't see it, hold it still, Ian, hold it still, so I can see it. It says the only podcast you can watch, red and blue review. Hold it up a bit. Hashtag glad all over, and I can't see the other hashtag at the bottom.
There is rumour, speculation, jungle drums that there may be 2, possibly, definitely 1, that we're going to have to think of something to give away for Christmas.
Definitely.
So
definitely.
We're going to have to think of a competition, and if you want to get Ian's going to have that one. We've got Nick a tippy cup.
Yeah, so I don't dribble a lot. Okay, there's comments going
Gil's
about
got a pint of milk with podcast on it.
Okay, my brother's just said wine. That's all he said.
Oh, don't say really that. Teresa Baker says, "Oh, I need one of those." Richard Green was saying, "Oh, nice mug." I don't think he was talking about your face, Ian. James Elsie saying, "Love it." Tyler Kay said, "What a mug." Stocking filler says Paul Holden. Tippy cups are available as well from Lucy.
There's definitely going to be one that is going to be put out. We're going to do some kind of competition for it for Christmas.
They literally are. They are so rare.
There is enough uptake, we'll get rid of one.
So now, Paul Holden's question: Should we be getting more praise, especially now we're back in the top 10? Well, we're not. We're 11th, but I take your point. For example, Soccer Saturday seems to appreciate us more than Match of the Day, not just because we are usually last on that show, but when we do win, the response from the pundits is often said, "Bad day at the office," from the opposition we've just beaten. Fair in his assessment there, Ian?
Listen, I'm happy for people to fly under people's radar, because as soon as we get noticed and we get praised, we, as we have done over the last couple of seasons when we've been doing well, we've started to bomb. We've struggled with the pressure. Look, I don't care what people say about us, as long as we finish, like most of us would say, 17th or higher. That's all I'm worried about.
Ben? What did I say yesterday, in our private chat? I said, one thing is guaranteed is that we will not, playing Burnley, be first on Match of the Day. That was, not just because of the fixtures. It's just not a game that stokes the imagination, is it? But what it means is when we're not getting mentioned is that we're not down the bottom and we're not up. We are just a mid-table, stable Premier League team, and long may it continue.
Okay, so we're going to do a couple more questions, and then I want to talk about the up-and-coming fixtures. George Owagwu. Hi, George. I hope you're well, mate. One more good question. I think we'll be the judge of that, George. I feel slightly jittery now that we are how we will fare up against Bournemouth, Wolves, Newcastle, Sheffield, who equally this season, like us, have pacey wingers. Who can hurt us on the counter? Where do you guys hope we sit amongst those teams? It probably falls nicely into my next segment, really, about the next games. But, we're certainly harder than... Well, we're about the same level, in my view. We're the same level as Bournemouth. Wolves, I think, are punching. Sheffield are definitely punching. Newcastle, much bigger club than us. But, I don't know. Am I wrong? Either who wants to go first? Ian, you go first.
If Sheffield are punching, it's enough nice to watch. I do enjoy watching Sheffield United. Their manager, is it Chris Taylor? Who is like a very statistic-based coach, isn't he? I love watching him give everyone a bloody nose.
And I agree. I think the way they managed to play with a back three has been a breath of fresh air, and it's something that Joe and I have been speaking about for God knows how long. Is that we've got the players to play a back three, and I think there's a system that really suits us. We don't have a manager that agrees with that, but I certainly think we've got players that can fit that system, and it'd be nice to see us develop that at some stage. As
Chris
for the
Wilder.
games,
thank you, Colin.
Yeah, Chris Wilder. Yeah, thanks. So as regards to the teams that were mentioned, I don't fear any of them. I think actually on the quiet, they would fear us more than we would fear them, especially on the road.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben, what did you just say, mate?
I can't stand Bournemouth. I hate Eddie Howe. He looks like Chucky from Child's Play. They're cynical. They break the dirty.
They are.
Of all the teams that would like a rivalry with Watford, can just I despise them. I absolutely despise Bournemouth, and I despise.
What is it with South Coast teams, eh?
Oh no! Yeah. Well, funny you should mention the South Coast teams because we're coming on to that next. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, I'd just like your opinion. While I do the next segment,
one more thing on Eddie Howe. Will he be the Bournemouth manager on Tuesday, given Everton lost again today?
Everton, yeah, I agree.
Oh, that'd be interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, as I was about to say, I would like your score predictions, please, for Tuesday night. Let us know, and we'll read them out towards the end of the show. Right, what I want to do is I want to remind everybody it is the 1st of December. Between now and the 1st of January, here we go. Bournemouth at home, we have playing Watford, then Brighton, Norwich. Have I got everybody there? Is that right? Have I missed anybody out? On West Ham and Southampton. That's our December.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
That's our December. So I reckon, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18 points available. 18 points. So I'm asking you for your score predictions. I can see them starting to come through. I'm also asking you, out of those games, what is your prediction for our potential points tally? Because just in case nobody's done the maths out there, we are currently on 18 points. There is potentially, I think, I'll just say another 15 points available. That could potentially take us up to 39 points and safety by January the 1st. Am I living in cloud cuckoo land? Yeah. Ben's saying yeah. Ben, Ian's dreaming.
I know. I reckon out of those 6 games, I reckon we could get 12 points.
Yeah, Graham Kitchens just said exactly the same thing.
But then I said 15 last week, so that'd tally in with what I said last week because we got 3 yesterday. So,
what is interesting over the Christmas period is that we are the only team in and around us that aren't playing anyone in the top 6.
Yeah,
we've done the top 6. We did it all in one whack. They've all got to face, 1 if not 2 players.
People might have missed what you just said, Ben. Do that again, please.
We're the only team in and around our immediate position that haven't got to play anyone in the top 6 over the next 6 weeks, I believe. So, as much as we might not pick up all the points, but they will all certainly be losing a few. So, keep as we're going steady. I don't think you can really predict the Brighton result. It's a cup final, then it can go either way. I would have had us to beat them last year, and we just didn't show up.
Okay.
Bournemouth at home, I'd probably take a draw against us because I think they will set up for us to try and get them to come at us, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, Peter said the same thing. Peter said 2-2. Richard Green was saying 2-1 Palace. Teresa saying 2-1 Palace. Michael Montgomery, hi mate, 2-2. Charlie Burns saying 2-1. And on the points tally from that lot that I've given out for the whole of December and into the first of January, Tyler Kay saying 14. Jason Green saying 15. Mokhtar saying 16. Rob Donovan says 10 points. Do you know what, guys? I think Ian Appley saying 10 points. I'd be happy with 10 points. Tom Clark saying 17. Martin Bashford saying 12. Yeah, all around. And by the way, while I think about Tom Clark, Tom, thank you for all your images supplied on the page. I need one tomorrow for the Bournemouth game, please. Get to work. Ladies and gentlemen, you must congratulate Tom Clark Samuel for some of the images that he puts up in the group. They are sterling stuff. Really, really good. And we're very grateful. Thank you. Boys, your score prediction, please, before we wrap up, because it's already after 9 o'clock. You know what Lucy's like. She beats me up if we run over too long. Your score prediction for Tuesday, please, and your score prediction for next weekend. Ben.
Ian, go on.
I'm gone.
Right. For Tuesday, I think we'll win. And who have we got on the Saturday?
Watford.
Watford again. Yeah. Again, I think we'll win that. And that's me being, I would never normally say that, but I think for me, a lot has to be down to whether the injuries at the back. But I think we should be okay.
Okay, well, we're going to extend it, actually, before you answer, Ben. So Bournemouth, Watford, and do Brighton as well, please, which is the Monday the 16th, I think.
Brighton, I think, will be a draw.
Okay,
right,
Ben,
okay.
Go for it.
Okay, so for different reasons, there's a lot of highlights on managers. So Bournemouth, I think Everton will sack Silva tomorrow. I don't think they'll have a new manager in place, but I think that'll be interesting. I think we'll draw against Bournemouth. Watford, you've got a new manager coming in, so is there going to be a new manager bounce? So that's not going to be. Is that away or home, Watford?
I believe it's away. In fact, it is away.
Right, I'm going to go draw Watford, beat Brighton. So draw, win.
Right, we'll pick
and
those
I'm
up.
going win-win draw.
And I haven't got a clue, and I never do. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll pick that up again next Sunday. I'm going to cut it short there because obviously we're going to be doing bits and pieces tomorrow after the press conference and lots going on, and we've all got a game on Tuesday. Thank you for your massive amount of comment in the chat tonight. I'm looking at them now, okay, and it's just been going on and on and on. And after the show, I always sit down and review everything that's been said. So thank you for all your nice comments about the show. Thank you for everything you say about it. We love having you there. This show is nothing without you. Ben, thank you for stepping in so late, mate. I do appreciate it.
No worries. Also, thank you to Lucy for, basically being our mum all week, knocking heads together.
Thanks, Mum.
Yeah, thanks, Mum. We love you.
And she's a brilliant producer, and, we actually couldn't do this without her.
Is the right answer.
That's the truth. Yeah, exactly.
Ian, final
That's the most honest thing we've said on this show.
Ian, final thoughts from you?
Yeah. Who wants the mug?
Who wants the mug? Nigel Croucher, I'll see you in row 13. Ladies and gentlemen, and those that are meeting for a beer before the game, look forward to seeing you all. It's been my pleasure. Jill will hopefully be back with us next week, sitting alongside Ian and myself. Thank you for each and every one of you joined in, wherever you're watching the world. If you're downloading this on the podcast, pass it on to all your Palace friends out there, Palace supporting friends. We do this for one reason, and that's for you. On behalf of myself, Nick Philpott, and the whole team at Red and Blue Review, wish you a good night. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Night.